Aloha, A's fans, and welcome to the town tailgate, where we are donning our Hawaiian shirts because guess what? The waves are breaking, and we're riding them fuckers. Chris, we are riding the wave.
I just pulled out my Sean Manaea bobblehead when he won his
That's a terrible bobble.
when he won his perfect or his no-hitter. Pretty cool. In honor of Sean Manaea and his epic start to the season after a horrible first outing, we decided to wear Hawaiian shirts. So that's what we're wearing today. So welcome to that podcast.
That's right. We got an action-packed show for you today, folks. We got some big three news, which includes another no-hitter happened again. Also, like, baseball viewership is on the rise, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and how it could get even better.
Yeah, it could be better, but we'll get into it later.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
I'm very upset about it.
Yes, we all are. Also, we got some A's news. I'm sure unless you lived under a rock, the A's are streaking as of tonight. They are on an 11-game win streak, thanks in part to some hot pitching, some fantastic hitting, great defense. But I think the big part of the show, we have a special guest this week. Chris, who is that?
A's beat writer for MLB.com, Martin Gallegos. This was a really fun one. I think you guys will enjoy it. We talk a little bit about music at the end because he's a music aficionado, but also some good insight on some really unique things that me and Julio have kind of noticed about the team this year, how they're playing a little bit more small ball, what the secret is behind like Sean Manaea playing so well. But it's fun. You guys will definitely enjoy this one.
And then we'll close out the show doing our usual stuff, talk about the upcoming series, do our player of the week, and close it out with our essential tool of the week. But Chris, let's waste no damn time at all. Another no-hitter.
Another no-hitter.
No. And this time it belongs to Mr. Carlos Rondon from the Chicago White Sox. He threw a no-hitter last week against the Cleveland team, and he was one hit by pitch away from a perfect game, but his slider just slid a little too much and hit, I believe it was Franmil Reyes on his toe.
Did he hit him hit him in the foot? That blows so much, because if he just moves his foot, that's a ball. And, who knows what could happen. That also could have led to a hit. But still, I'm sure that he's happy either way. He's probably not thinking about it. He's probably just like, I got a no-hitter. Like, fuck you guys. But, that has to go in the back of your mind a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, just a little bit.
And it seems like with these no-hitters, when it's just every no-hitter, it just seems like, unless it's somebody like when Lucas Giolito did his and when Justin Verlander did it a couple years ago, we're like, you're good. You're really good. You knew we were going to do that. There's this fantastic story. So Carlos Rondon, quick little background. He was drafted in the first round, 3rd overall, 2014. And he's just had such an injury-plagued career. He's had Tommy John. He's had multiple wrist injuries, shoulder injuries, everything you could name up. Last year with the White Sox, had a pretty terrible season. He pitched only 7 innings, and he had an 8.2 ERA. And this season, he was a free agent. He came back on a 1-year, $3 million deal because in his post-game conference, he talked about how he's like, I love this organization. They stood by me for all these years, and I want to be here for them. And little do we know, he goes and throws a no-hitter, man. It's quite special.
Yeah. Do we think this is going to be another season like, what was it, 2018, where the season started off with 20 no-hitters in the first month? No, it won't be that. But still, I think that was just more of a joke because it's just so 2 no-hitters in 2 weeks is pretty intense.
Well, it's interesting because when we talked about a few weeks ago, I don't know if we actually did on the podcast. I could be wrong, but when they changed the ball, and we're saying how this is going to be the year of the pitcher and all this other stuff, and then lo and behold, the first month alone, we have 2 no-hitters. Now, do you think this is something that it could be the ball, or is it these teams that they're playing against? Because Cleveland has not been great. and
Yeah.
they look like they're going to be, unfortunately, like because of like Jose Ramirez and Shane Bieber, just two complete studs. Like overall, they're just not a great team. Like, what do you think it is?
I don't know, because so Glenn was saying it on the broadcast today. Since the first two series that we've played awful, the A's are just hitting the shit out of the ball, and they have they have the most home runs in the league, and behind them was I forgot who they brought up. I want to say it was like the Mets or something like that, and their numbers are comparable to the past couple of years. So I don't know. I mean, it's we know that they took a little bit of juice out of the ball, so we know that, whatever that means. I'm not a baseball engineer.
To the Agatha Harkness week,
Yeah, I don't think they're like sticking a needle in there and they're steroids, but
you never know.
I mean, it's true. But the A's numbers since the first two series is it's not really a good stat. Just off of that team, it's not really a good stat. So I don't know. I'd have to look more into it. Maybe do some baseball reference digging when I'm in my free time. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but either way, congrats to him.
Yeah,
such an amazing story. He's going to be in the record books.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and this is going to be a great lead segue, the segue king over here, but it do. Great segue to our next topic, which is, I think we've had some really great baseball over this first month. We had 2 no-hitters. You're seeing guys like Fernando Tatis, Shohei Ohtani, really like the stars have really shown why they're stars. Mookie's making crazy ass plays in the outfield. And because of that, we have a pretty interesting article for you that's been all over the place, that MLB TV viewership has actually, and MLB TV and cable TV viewership from this start of the season has been insane compared to where they've been in the past. MLB has said that their MLB.TV service has saw more than 1.3 million minutes of streams in the first 3 weekends alone. It is an 18% increase compared to the first 18 days of 2020, and it's a 43% increase compared to 2019. And you got to think about it, MLB moved out of Atlanta for the All-Star game, and you had a lot of people saying, I'm banning baseball, we're not going to protest baseball. But guess what? Baseball's stronger than it's been in a hot minute, man. How awesome is this? There's a lot of negatives. We'll get to the negatives of this in a second.
As massive baseball fans, this is great, because it's
fucking rules, man.
It means that the game is still going to be alive. We're not going to lose a game, which if you would have asked me last 2019, if you would have asked me, I would have been worried, because viewership is just shot down unless there's like 2 interesting teams in the World Series. Like the World Series hasn't really done very well either. But yeah, I mean, I have 3 TVs in my living room. So like if there's day games on, they're on one or 2 of my TVs, like while I'm working or listening to podcasts. So like I think that's the reason why my viewership is up. But I just think that it's just more accessible now. So like, for example, for the longest time, the only way for me to watch the A's would have been to either like illegally stream it on like VIP box or something like that, or to buy MLB.TV. Well, MLB.TV, like MLB realized like, hey, maybe we should like partner with like cell phone services and like give it away for free. I think that's helped a lot. I think making the streaming available, even though I know it's only in your local area, but on like the company app, like for example, in the Bay Area, on the NBC Sports app, if you are in the Bay Area, you can watch the A's on your phone. So I could like be sitting on BART and watch my phone. I could be, I don't know, I could have a household of 5 TVs, and maybe I only have cable on my main one, but I can stream on another one. So I think that little things like that help. But that wasn't until like 2 years ago. Like NBC Sports didn't start doing that until like 2 years ago.
I could be waiting online to get on Medusa at Marine World, and I can be watching the A's play.
Well, no, you can't. Because out of market, you
possible.
Can't do that. Which actually is a great segue into the reasons why there's.
No. Oh, hold on. Before we get there, though, no, Marine World, Medusa, Vallejo, and
Marine
Market.
World. Got it.
Yeah. But I think another thing that is fantastic with baseball right now is.
You mean Discovery Kingdom? Just saying.
Oh, nope. we're not getting there. But I think a fantastic thing about baseball right now is it's starting to get to the level when, we're both huge basketball fans. And I think something that's been great about the NBA recently is every team has a star or a superstar. It feels like almost every single team has a star or a superstar where it's like, cool, great. I guess I'll watch the Thunder and the Spurs or something. Well, Jonte Murray has been a freaking stud throughout this year. Yeah. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is one of the best young point guards coming up in the league. So like, hey, I'm just going to watch that matchup. And now in baseball, it seems like almost every single team has some guy where you're like, oh yeah, I'm down to watch a Giants game just to watch Mike Yastrzemski because this guy's, kind of came out of nowhere and he's really living up to the mantle of his name.
Yeah.
The Rangers are terrible, but shit, I'll tune in when Joey Gallo's pitching just so I can see if he could potentially, or hitting so I can demolish a ball kind of thing.
Yeah.
And baseball is starting to become, and another big thing too is like baseball is starting to get diverse again.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many players.
That's the biggest thing to me, dude, is the diversity.
Yeah. Think about who are probably some of the most popular players in the league right now. You got like Ronald Acuna. You got Fernando Tatis Jr.
Tim Anderson,
Ohtani,
which is like the demographic that they don't do well with, and he relates with them so well. Like he, just everything about him, the flair, just like he just relates with that audience so well.
Oh, you got Ohtani, you got it's like, and Mookie. It's like there's so many different guys now where it's not just, and like they're so relatable now. And I think a lot of it has to do with like people's social media and whoever's working on their social media teams.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun where it's like, dude, I like some of my favorite players aren't on the A's. I'm a huge Ohtani fan. I think he's awesome. We were texting the other day about Tim Anderson, how he's just like, even though he's got his random beef with Oakland because he got knocked out of the playoffs last year, the dude's got so much swag. All he does is hit. He's just such a fun personality. And of course, Acuna and Tatis are just like,
it's also
these
just like
kids are going nuts.
It's also just like the wit and like the funny like moments how they're willing to engage with fans. Like, for example, I think Bryce Harper getting yelled at by that kid at the game. I think that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And like the kid posted that thinking like, I totally got this guy. But if you listen to what Bryce Harper said, it's just like, oh my God, Bryce just fucking nailed him. Yeah. So if you haven't seen it on Twitter, there's this kid who's he's at a Braves Phillies game, and he's just like trolling Bryce Harper. He's like a couple rows back from the dugout, and he's just yelling, "You'll never be as good as Acuna. You'll never be as good as Acuna. No." And then Bryce turns around and he goes, "Acuna. It's pronounced Acuna." Like, keeps saying it. Then he does it with his hand. Like, he puts his hand up and like tries to like wave it like he's a conductor or something, like Acuna. No. Say it with me. Acuna. And the kid's just like yelling over, and just like eventually Bryce is just like, oh, this kid, and he just like gives up. But it's
and it kind of lays in part that we're starting to see like how troll baseball players are, but like how dorky baseball players are. You played baseball your whole life. I know. A lot of my closest friends played baseball. And let me tell you, every baseball player I know is just the biggest fucking dork you've ever met. Case proven when when Anthony Rizzo was chasing after Freddie Freeman the other night, the pic's like, Frederick! Dude, I was tired.
That was one of the greatest mic'd ups that I've seen. I'm so glad they mic
Frederick!
Yeah. And
Freddie
Freeman, did you see that Freddie Freeman literally like stopped his run midway because he was laughing so hard?
Frederick! And of course, all this awesome stuff that John Boy is doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, as people who we know how much we love baseball, we really, when we meet people who love baseball and we talk about it, it's just a whole nother breed. And it feels like there's no other sport that can really lead up to it. But God damn it, there's still so many things they're screwing up, Chris.
It's just like it's pretty much the thing that I lightly mentioned, and we can't go too long. So we already gotten long enough on this subject. But I just want to say, like, I don't know what, like, so there was a Twitter post about there's a guy who's in, I think he's in like Orange County, and he's trying to watch the Dodgers and the Padres game, but technically he's in both those markets, so he can't watch it. So he's like, okay, you know what? And he's on MLB.TV. Let me go watch the Angels game. The Angels were playing like the Astros or something like that. And he can't watch that game. So he's in 3 markets and he can't watch all 3 of the teams that he wants to watch in that area on MLB.TV. Like, you have to buy cable in order to watch your team. That's so stupid. And it's not an MLB.TV issue. It's an MLB and like their like CBA issue. They need to solve that this upcoming season. Cause like I live in LA. I love watching the Dodgers, especially at night. Like when the A's play, like they're on the East Coast, they're playing a 4:00 game. I want to watch the Dodgers at 7. And the Dodgers Padres series is coming up this weekend. I want to watch that shit, but I can only watch it if it's on national TV or on ESPN or something like that. It drives me insane. Like I can't watch the game tonight because I'm blacked out. It's just fucking stupid. Like if you want to grow your audience, don't like restrict people and force them to buy these packages. Because if you know anything about millennials, we're trying to save every dime and penny that we can because we have student loans to pay for. Like we're not going to pay for stupid shit that we don't need. We're not going to pay for a cable service that we're going to watch for only like 3 months out of the year. It's completely like know your audience. It's like it's boomers again. It's boomers again not knowing the audience. It drives me insane. That's
damn
rant.
boomers.
That's my rant brought to you by Chris Martinez of State Farm. If you need insurance, hit up Chris Martinez from State Farm in Wanacue.
Hey, boomers, you need life insurance. But okay, I got one to top you for the Anaheim fan, right? The poor dude could watch 3 games. This is a Reddit post from 3 years ago. I just Googled it. There is a guy in Iowa, and I don't think this has changed. He lives in Des Moines, Iowa. When the capital, I don't know, Iowa stuff. But anyways,
he lives in Des Moines. Great. That's all you really need to know or care about Iowa.
He was blocked out from watching Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, Twins, Royals, and White Sox games. That's 6 teams he can't watch.
That is absurd.
And it's all because of cable deals. And I know. Sorry, Jessica. I know we have our differences with Rachel Luba, with her opinions with some stuff and how she managed her things, but she's been a very vocal person about like, these blackout restrictions are bullshit, and you're losing fans because of it. So it's like, hey, you see how see how nice these numbers are for you guys? See how many people are watching? Guess what? These numbers will go up even more if you get rid of these restrictions. Because think about all the people who are watching this because they're setting up VPNs, or they're going on, bootleg sites to watch these games. And this outcoming CBA, this should be, or not the CBA, but you know what I mean. This should be a big conversation starter.
And like they can do it. Look at, the NBA has their blackout rules too, but look at what the NBA is doing. Like their NBA League Pass app is fucking awesome. And you can have different levels of subscriptions. Like I can buy it for just one team if I want to just buy it for one team, or I can buy the whole thing and I can stream it on 2 devices so I can share it with my friend, which is what I do for mine. Like, why can't we do that with MLB.TV either?
But it still blocks out local games.
I know, but
that's the whole purpose of this conversation. You're saying you can't watch, I still can't watch Laker games on MLB or NBA.
The world is transitioning to streaming. Like, look at what the deal that ESPN just signed with ESPN and Disney just signed with the NFL and with Amazon. A big reason why they did that was because they saw that majority of their audience now is coming from streaming. So we need to capture that audience in some way. Anyway, we need to move on, Julio. We can go on all day. Just figure this shit out. But the last thing we want to talk about is we have somebody who is off to a freaking historic start in baseball, and he might fly under the radar because he plays in Milwaukee, and this is Mr. They
Corbin.
beat the Padres today.
They did beat the Padres. Oh shit, damn. Brewers. And we talked about this guy a lot in when we did our Central preview with Ronnie. Corbin Burnes is off to an insane start. And he's somebody where whenever he's starting, for those of you who have MLB TV, he is a must watch every time he's out there. He has a .37 ERA. He has 40 strikeouts. But here's the craziest thing. He has no walks.
Zero.
He is 0 walks. 0.
That is fucking wild.
The first pitcher in modern era to have 40 strikeouts and no ERAs in any 4-start span.
And no walks. Sorry, you said no.
And no walks. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
yeah, dude. And I remember, so I brought him up when we were talking about the Central with Ronnie, and I thought it was you. And I said, I really like him. I think that he's a lot better the reason why I ranked their rotation higher on my list than you guys was because I really like him as like their number 2 or 3 starter. And I thought it was you who agreed with me, but maybe it was Ronnie who liked him as well. But he's kind of like sat in between the starter and reliever role the past 2 years. But last year he did pretty well at the end of the season as a starter, and he like has definitely taken on the role. He's good. I like this dude a lot.
Actually had I'm pulling up the receipts. Actually had Milwaukee's rotation as the second best in the Central. So yeah, sorry, Ronnie, I don't mean to call you out like that. But yeah, he's been lights out. I think a big thing has been, it's crazy because I think there was like a 2019, he had like an 8-something ERA in the season. Last year starting to show a difference. And the big thing has been like his cutter has actually been coming into play a lot. And it's crazy because now he's in this upper echelon, at least in starts right now. Let's see what's going on with like Garrett Cole's been fantastic to start the season. Jacob deGrom, obviously Jacob deGrom, which means I have a great analogy. I'm going to bring it up in a second with Jacob deGrom. Okay. But and then Shane Bieber, of course. And it's just showing you like the Brewers are looking like a really legit team right now. Christian Yelich has been on the IL, but it hasn't really mattered because they've taken so far 2 out of 3 from the Padres in this series. And Chris, all I'm trying to say is it's April. It's plenty of time. Not going to let you with me. But I think they are who we thought they were.
They're in first place by a game and a half.
They're in the first place by a game and a half. They have a 24 run differential, second only to the Dodgers, who are plus 38 because they're ridiculous. Like this is a team that if you get in a 5-game series with them, a 7-game series with them, you don't want to see these guys.
I'm trying to pull up the Cardinals last few games because I think that they dropped a few to the Nationals. They did. Yeah, they just lost 2 out of 3 to the Nationals. They're all over the place, and then they did not do well against the Brewers. Yeah, I mean, like the Cardinals are the only real threat that I see. I know you really like the Reds, but and the Cubs have been up and down. I don't know. Yeah, I think they could.
The Cubs suck.
I think they could dominate the rest of the season. That division for the rest of the season for sure.
Now, before we jump to A's news, my analogy. I was thinking about this earlier. Jacob deGrom was historically probably one that's going to be one of the best pitchers of our generation. Historically, he's been on some pretty mediocre Mets teams. He doesn't have a big win-loss record. He pitches his ass off and he still gets a loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that not Steph Curry this season?
Not the last few games. I mean, today, but not the last few games. Yes. No, I mean, you're right. Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Dude, hold on. Let me look out there real quick. Think I'm seeing some killer waves, bro.
Oh my God.
Let's
hold
get
on.
this
We didn't
started.
mention Jay Bruce just retired.
Oh yeah.
That happened. Anyway.
Congrats, Jay.
Going.
3-time All-Star.
So, Julio, I think this officially means that we're going streaking into the quad through the gymnasium. We're going streaking. There's more coming. 11-game win streak, ladies and gentlemen. That's happened. It was almost broken today, but as we are going to talk about a little bit with Martin Gallegos in the next segment, it did not happen thanks to a whole lot of luck. But we have an 11-game win streak on our hands. We've completely turned around. We're in first place. We're not sharing first place. We're alone in first place now at 12-7. What's our record compared to the rest of the American League?
We're second in the American League, only behind Boston, who I told you guys. But holy crap!
I just want to say one thing, Boston. Their 8-game win streak, that's cute. But when you can talk to me when you get 11. You can talk to me when you get 11. Let's just say that.
You're so cocky right now.
It's just, I mean, dude, like they're pretty much bringing it all together. It's not just 1 through 3 that's saving us anymore. Everybody's more or less hitting timely. Let's just say that. I wouldn't say everybody's hitting, but everybody's hitting timely. 1 through 3 is still killing it. Actually, Ramon's in another classic Ramon slump, which is a little frustrating. but he gets big moments when he needs them. Lowry is one of the best hitters in the league right now. Mark Canha's still doing his thing. He leads the American League in runs scored. I think Acuna, because Acuna's on an Acuna tear right now, has like 2 more runs scored than him. Matt Olson, I mean, we're going to talk about him. Just wow. Actually, let's talk about him now.
Yeah, so I got some stats for you real quick. Over his last 7 games, Matt Olson. Oh, I like that. Over the last 7 games, he's batting .423. 423, 5 home runs, 9 RBIs, 3 walks, and don't forget the other night he hit that grand salami just right off the pole. He had a pretty slow start to the season, I think, just like everybody else on the team did. But holy crap, if this guy is going to be playing like this, dude, he could be legitimate MVP if he's going to keep up like this.
If he
and this is
going in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, because here's the thing. We've known how good he is. I think last year was a massive oddity. He's come out and said it multiple times where he's just like, I sucked last year. I worked on a swing. But dude, when the guy's healthy, he's going to be hitting 40 plus home runs. He's going to be hitting 260, 270 something, and he's going to play some stellar defense. And that's what he's doing. And he's starting to seem, we've talked so much about Matt Chapman and how important Matt Chapman is, because obviously Matt Chapman is Matt Chapman, and I'm just going to keep saying Matt Chapman. But it's starting to show like this is the guy who might have been the real cog in all of this, that when he is rolling, he is the reason they are going to be where they have been the last couple of years.
Well, Matt Olson was our number 1 prospect for like 3 years. Like Matt Chapman was in like the top 5, but he was never quite that. And he came on in the scene once they got rid of
Trevor Plouffe.
Was it Trevor Plouffe? Yeah. Okay, maybe Trevor Plouffe. I thought it was Danny Valencia, but I think it was
both. I think it was both.
And he just came out hot, and then his defense obviously took over, and the guy just looks like a star. He looks like a star. He plays defense like a star, and he has timely hitting, a lot of clutch moments like a star does. So I think that's why we latch onto him. But he is very streaky, as we all know as A's fans. Where Matt Olson, the talent has always been there. He's 6'6", 240 of just like solid muscle. Obviously a great glove, lots of reach. And he has a good eye when you need him to. Like, if you watch in his good seasons, he's hitting like 270 or 280 or something like that, but he gets hurt, and that's what kind of like plagues him. And like 2019, I think, was the year like probably his best year. He was hitting really well, and his average isn't as good because injury plagued him in the middle of the season. But then the second half, once he was finally healthy again, it really like he really turned it on and kind of like saved that average. I think it was like 268 or something like that. But the guy is legit, and he's not our best player. I'm not ready to say that. It's still Matt Chapman. I think Matt Chapman is very important in this team, but I do think I kind of see them as a unit, as the Matts are really important in this team. And I told you,
of course.
I think I said this on the pod. All we need is one Matt to play well, and it brings everything together. As long as one Matt is hot, then the rest of our lineup just kind of like comes together. So yeah, if both are hot, then we're like fucking the best team in the American League.
Yeah, and that's what makes them so special, is that, you know, we're going to talk about my team, but, you know, Matt Chapman hasn't been hitting, but just because he's not hitting doesn't mean he's not good. The guy's still playing platinum glove defense. He's come into his own when it comes to being a little more aggressive on the bases, like the rest of his team has. And that just adds the whole nother dimension to him. Right. Mm-hmm. But with like Matt Olson, I think the biggest improvement he talked about, and how he's changed some mechanics when it came to where he was placing his hands on his bat, kind of fixing up his swing a little bit. He looks like he's not just, and this was a big problem for not just him, but for the team over the last couple of years. He's not just aiming for the fences anymore.
Yeah.
He's become okay with just getting those singles, being able to beat out the shift and just hit it over the left field. Today he could have gone 4 for 5, but Byron Buxton laid out a freaking web gem out there in center that he had no business catching. But, Byron Buxton's a Gold Glove center fielder out there. But he's really just coming into his own. He's not just a power hitter anymore. He's become an all-around hitter. And I just want to say kudos to you. We're going to talk a little bit more about our essential tools if we get there, but you kind of were like, took the cop out. I was like, oh, I'm taking a 4-hole hitter. So we'll get there to that. But
and it worked. Matt, the offense blew up, just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt has been freaking excellent. More A's news. Shout out to our dude, Bomel. He has set the Oakland A's, not the Athletics record, because he's never going to catch Connie Mack, unfortunately. We never know, but he has set the Oakland Athletics record for the most games managed in the Oakland A's franchise history, passing Tony La Russa. Say what you want about where the team's success has been. We all know, obviously, but we wouldn't be a continuous contender throughout these years, this budget, without him. And I know we are both big, huge fans of him. We love Bomel and just the demeanor he brings to this team. And I think just seeing what has happened this season so far, where we were at the team was at horrible start. And I think any other manager would have not been able to get out of it and they would have been fired by now.
Yeah.
But it's somebody special like him who really plugs us out of it. And to have him set that record, I think we just got to give him a kudos.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was going to break it this season no matter what, but I'm glad that he has it and not someone else. I'm glad that it's him. I'm glad that because realistically, I mean, I think he probably needs to win a World Series, knock on wood, if you're with me. But I think if he manages his team for 5 more years, he could go down as the best A's manager of all time, because it's between him or I guess Charlie Finley. Maybe.
No, it'd be him, La Russa.
Him, La Russa, or you think it'd be him? Well, I guess he was.
Oh, so
Finley had a really short stint in the 70s.
Hold on.
So he
Charlie,
won 3 World.
Charlie Finley was the owner.
Or sorry, not Charlie Finley.
You're thinking of Dick Williams.
Yeah, Dick Williams. He had a really short stint with the A's. Like, he was only there for 2 of the championships, but I know he was really praised back in the day. But that team was just so stacked.
Okay, if we're gonna go athletics history, it's Connie Mack. It's not
but I'm talking
close,
about
but
Oakland A's history.
Yeah.
It's
I think it's him. Especially if you look at what Tony La Russa, the players Tony La Russa had at that time.
Yeah.
Where you had the greatest leadoff. Well, that too. The greatest leadoff hitter ever in Ricky. You had the arguably
before Mark Hanna. Just kidding. That was a joke, A's fans.
The second greatest closer of all time.
Yeah.
Eck. And then of course are the Bash Bros and Canseco. That's just named 4 guys, but like there's so many guys in that lineup with like Stu and like Bob Welsh and so many guys. He had so much talent that of course he should have been great. Yeah. Whereas with the A's, if you look at I was thinking about this earlier just because we saw Josh Donaldson play and we kind of having some member bearers from him. If you look at where those guys, what they turned into after they were traded, like Josh Donaldson became an MVP and then Cespedes, went on to be like a Mets hero. But for most of those part, a lot of those guys just kind of flounder. And it just shows you like this guy's so good at getting the best out of what he has, man.
I've been telling Giants fans this for years when they talk shit and they're like, oh, this trade, terrible trade. Why would you do that? Classic A's. And I'm just like, dude, just go look at their track records. There's a reason to the madness. Yeah, the turnaround, I think, is a big thing. He's had to deal with so much turnaround, which Tony La Russa didn't. He was out the second those guys were gone. But we'll just mention the last thing, and then we'll take the break and go to the next segment. Starters are playing. Well, actually, this was a topic, but it wasn't after today because the starter didn't really do very well. But the starters are playing a lot better.
Thanks a lot, Frankie.
Yeah, Frankie. He was fucking pitching so well. This is classic Frankie. He does like 2 amazing starts where you're just like, that guy's gonna win a Cy Young one day, and then he just fucking chokes on one. It just drives me crazy. Anyway, starters were playing better. Bassett seemed to have turned it around. We're gonna talk about Mania in this next segment with Martin.
Luzardo had a great start last night.
Had a great start. As well.
Cole Irvin threw a shutout, 6-inning shutout.
And it looks like Mike Fiers is right around the corner, which is great. So anyway, let's go to the break, Julio. Let's go talk to Martin Gallegos. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with MLB.com's Martin Gallegos. So the day is Wednesday, April 21st. We record this at 8 p.m. We have a special guest this week. Martin Gallegos is joining us, A's beat writer for MLB.com. We are trying to wrap our heads around the game that we just watched. For the listeners, he came in the Zoom room and we instantly just started talking about it. So we figured maybe we should start the pod and open with that. Martin, you were there today. So what was it like being in the building?
I mean, it was nuts. I mean, kind of one of those classic, A's games, late inning magic at the Coliseum. I call it, they always, especially here in Oakland, find a way to pull these kinds of wins off. They always have a few each year. And I mean, they've had a walk-off win with an error 2 times now in the last 4 days. So that magic is alive and well. And it was nuts. It was crazy to watch. I mean, just the back and forth from start to finish, the momentum shifts that went on. Matt Olson had a monster day, and that's kind of on the back burner based on what happened in those late innings. But just more, the pitching, maybe not so much, but as far as hitting and defense, another pretty well played game by the A's, and just they find a way to win. And that's obviously been the case here the last week or so.
When you say pull these kinds of wins off, you mean pull just a horseshoe out of their ass? Just almost the luckiest, what was that? The 10th inning, luckiest 10th inning I've ever seen in my life. Just 2 errors back to back. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, no hits in that inning, yet they end up overcoming a 2-run deficit. I
3 runs, no earned.
I don't remember the last time I've ever seen something like that. If ever, it's nuts.
Yeah. There's like there's always some weird baseball history stat. Like if somebody can somehow find that, like, that's just happened before, like, it feels like it hasn't. But there's actually, before we jump into, there's another thing I wanted to bring up. You tweeted earlier today, and it was weird because simultaneously, like, family members and friends were texting me about it too. And it's like Sergio Romo. Your tweet, just to kind of say, was like, it's been a rough start, 12.79 ERA in 7 appearances. And it's just like, we're all like kind of worried right now. Like, what next, man? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's tough, man. It hasn't been pretty. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It seems like every game he comes in, and even the outings where he hasn't given up a run, it's been, walking a tightrope for him. So, we'll see what happens. I know the A's, especially with the vets like Romo, who have been established, they're going to give him, every chance in the world to try to turn it around. So I don't know if he gets like cut the next day, but maybe we start seeing him not so leaned on in the late in the high leverage situations. Maybe you kind of see him come in, maybe more they're losing by a few runs or winning by a comfortable lead, and kind of maybe try to get his confidence back up, because I know Bob Melvin loves him, and I know he's a popular guy in the clubhouse. His personality's great, but it's all about results at the end of the day, and right now it's looking pretty bad. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Is his velocity, he's never been a high velocity guy, but he's getting hit around pretty hard, and that slider doesn't seem to be really fooling guys as much as it normally does, at least this point in the season.
Speaking of Twitter, just real quick, again, you can follow Martin at Martin J. Gallegos on Twitter. Again, A's beat reporter for MLB.com. Do you think he's done? Do you think he's washed?
I don't know. I think, from what I saw in spring training, he actually looked pretty good. And
right?
Right. Yusnor Petit was the guy who I was kind of worried about because he was getting hit around. But I know, spring training, especially for those guys, don't mean a whole lot. But based on what I saw, I thought if there was one of those two that was going to kind of fall off, it might have been Petit. But Petit's coming out looking like he always does, and Romo's kind of been getting hit around here. So, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know if he's done. He is pretty up there in age. Maybe just a lesser role for him, just to kind of get things going again. I think at this point can kind of help him at this point in his career.
Yeah. I was gonna say it kind of reminds me a little bit, like, speaking of like the vets who've kind of plugged in the bullpen the last couple of years. I could be wrong, but I remember Soria kind of getting off to a kind of a rough start when he came to the organization. When Fernando Rodney was here for his little nice coffee break he had, there was kind of some nasty outings. But like at the end of the day, like those guys end up settling into those roles. But I think from a fan perspective, I think we're all cheering for him. We love everything he does for organization, how much fun he is. Yeah. Oh man.
We got 3 Mexicans in this Zoom chat. Wait, you're Mexican, right, Martin?
Yeah.
We got 3 Mexicans in the Zoom chat, so we appreciate the shit out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's kind of like hit it off with some like general questions. So as we told you before we started the interview, we're wearing our Hawaiian shirts today in honor of Sean Manaea and his dominance since his rough first start. After a rough like kind of start of the season, what do you think the main factors are, like how he's just able to turn around like dramatic 180 turnaround?
Yeah, I think he's just kind of evolved as a pitcher. I mean, he obviously when he first came up was a little bit more higher velocity and went through those down years the last few years where his velocity was pretty low. I mean, it was, barely touching 90. And over that time, he improved his control a lot. And he became, really well at, controlling his fastball and his secondary pitches. And now that he's come back, in spring training, we saw his velocity tick up a little bit. It was around 93. I think this year it's around like 91, 92, which isn't a whole lot, but it's still enough to, make a difference. And so now you got the best of both worlds kind of. And I think that's just what's happened with him. I mean, he had the one rough start to begin the season, but I mean, the whole team was going through a rut at that point. So, I mean, I don't really put too much stock into that, but these last few times he's gone out, I mean, he's looked really good. And, I mean, he's kind of pitching the way the A's, what they want out of him, just a guy in the middle of the rotation who can go out there and give you like a quality start every time, go 6-7 innings to kind of help out your bullpen, not get taxed too much. A reliable guy every fifth day. And that's what I think Sean Manaea at his best can really be. Maybe not a number one type guy like everyone thought at one point, but a mid-rotation, maybe number two guy who is very solid and you know what you're going to get every time out. That's what he seems to be developing into.
I pointed out a stat yesterday to Julio because he talked about his control in the post-game interview. And so yesterday his stats were of his 90, I think it was 96 pitches. He threw, or maybe it was 92. I think it was 92 pitches. He threw 60 strikes and 22 balls. Like that's like Bartolo Colon type of like strikes to walks ratio stats.
Total
like,
that's
God. Insane. Yeah.
No, it's been to watch him develop has been cool. Over the last few years, just to see how he's been able to kind of deal with it all. Because usually, a guy starts to lose velocity, they kind of freak out and could just flame out of the league. But he's actually did something about it, and it's a credit to the A's veteran pitchers that have been on the staff and the coaches that have helped him along the way as well. Coming back from surgery, I mean, it was a tough road for him to come back from that surgery.
Yeah,
and he's been able to flourish with it. And now it seems to be like he's in the new chapter of his career where he's just this reliable guy who is a veteran on this staff, even though he's still pretty young, who, the younger guys actually look up to now. And he can actually give out some tips, or if anyone's kind of looking for guidance or anything like that, he's a guy who they actually come up to for that stuff.
And I just remember, and I think one thing that might've been like a little tougher for him to start the season was like most of last season, Jonah Heim was his catcher for most of those starts. And especially, when he was off to like an awesome ending in September. So I could be wrong, but like, I can only imagine just having to work with somebody like Aramis Garcia and Sean Murphy, who you didn't really get too much experience with. And now he's starting to click it again. And especially early, that's the biggest thing, was like seeing him pitch like this in April, where like, even though he threw no hitter in April, but like just seeing him being this consistent this soon is like awesome. You just love to see it, man.
Yeah, no, that's they want their rotation to be a strength for them, and he's one of those guys who has to kind of be an anchor there and go as many innings as he can. He's kind of going to be a workhorse for them. They've got a guy like Luzardo who hasn't pitched that much over a full season. Other guys, Frankie Montas still kind of inconsistent throughout the season last year. Sean Manaea could really step up and be that guy who can kind of just be consistent and eat up innings for the whole year and turn in quality outings as well.
So the next question is, obviously they play at the Oakland Coliseum and Rickey Henderson Field, and it looks like they're really taking on the name of Rickey Henderson Field because all of a sudden the A's are stealing like crazy. We've seen Moneyball, we've all read Moneyball, and over the last 20 years, historically, this team has never been a base stealing team.
I pay you to get on first, not get thrown out at second, I think was the quote from Moneyball.
Boom, there you go. But yeah, what has changed this philosophy? They're leading the American League in steals, and all of a sudden, I think was game one yesterday, 4 steals in the game alone. Like, what has changed that has allowed these guys to kind of run wild?
Yeah, I think, in spring training, when we talked to Elvis Andrus, he kind of just basically said it, I'm going to help these guys steal more bases. He said, we're going to steal a lot more bases this year. And I think there's something about that that's true. I mean, when I remember when I tweeted that, a lot of people were like, why don't they just go up to Ricky Henderson? He's there all the time. But I think it's different when you have an actual player, in the games that can kind of give you tips on what they're seeing from a pitcher's movements or whatever. And I think that's certainly translated. So I don't know if that's just the only factor in that, but I think it's been certainly a huge factor having a guy like Andrus in there. I think he had like 305 steals under his belt coming into the year. So he is a guy who knows a thing or two about stealing bases and being smart about it. And that's the one thing I've noticed, like with guys like Laureano, he's not just out there running wild, just taking off whenever. He's studying these guys, his pitchers on the mound. He's looking at their movements, and he's picking out the right times to steal. And I think a lot of that has been just his picking of the brain from Andrus, and a lot of the other guys have been doing that as well. And Andrus, I think, stole a base today and might have had one yesterday too. So he's kind of starting to pick it up there as well as he gets on base a little more. So I mean, that's one of the things that I think, regardless of how Andrus performs at the plate this year, I think just his presence on the team has been such a big factor in these first 2 weeks, just kind of keeping the team even keel. He's kind of a fun guy in the clubhouse. And I mean, I kind of mentioned it when he came. He's kind of was like the Marcus Semien of the Rangers in a way, just his presence and his leadership that he brought to that team. So even though they lost the leadership, a lot of it in Semien and a lot of stuff off the field with them, they gained some of that back with Andrus this year, it seems like. And defensively, he's been pretty good. He's been durable playing every game. So, I mean, they've got a nice, clubhouse veteran guy who has been through it before. He's been to the World Series before. So, I mean, that was a pretty good pickup for them. And I think he's had a lot to do with that stolen base uptick this year.
Me and Julio talked a lot about that, like how the veteran, it seems like the guys they went out and got this offseason were veterans with experience who have been there. Mitch Moreland, won a World Series, like all those kind of guys.
Yeah. Romo. I mean, all those guys, they all brought in guys who have been there before. And, even Rosenthal, which we'll see if he comes back at some point this year, at some point, maybe second half. He's a guy who's been through it as well. So they certainly targeted guys who know what it takes to make, these deep playoff runs and know what it's like to go through, struggles throughout a season. They've been through it all.
Well, then do you think that Billy Beane is like sitting in his office or lifting weights in the weight room during the game and he's like throwing a weight against the wall when he sees someone steal a base? Or do you think that they brought Elvis in here to be like, all right, you know what? We're going to start fucking stealing bases. Like we're changing. Like this isn't 2002 anymore.
I think they just, they look at the skill set and they've got guys who can run. And so I think they just said, why not use this, if we have this in our back pocket? I think maybe in previous years, they've had some guys who can steal bases. I know Coco Chris not that long ago led the league in bases, but for the most part, they haven't had a ton of guys who are electric guys like Laureano, like Andrus on the bases. So I think the skill set has changed a little bit more as they've gone to these other options on their team, and they're just going to utilize all the tools that they have. Why not use?
And it kind of bringing up that point of just like, you're having guys who aren't necessarily the fastest dudes, or like somebody like Matt Chapman who. His bat's not there yet, but if he can get on base, like he's not afraid to steal. It just adds a whole nother dimension to his game on top of the defense. And it's something that like, it's so much fun to see these guys. Like we've known Chappie has had speed. He's not the fastest dude in the world, but like he can get it going when he needs to, even though he's kind of got a goofy stride going to him.
No, he flies around pretty quick, and when he senses he could get like a triple, he'll go all out. And his first to third is pretty fun to watch too. So he's athletic, and he's definitely, I don't know what like the timing is on his speed, but he's got to be one of the more faster guys on the team for sure. When he gets it going, I mean, he's just so strong and such in shape, dude, that he just, he's got that speed in him.
So we do want to talk about the outfield because a dramatic change was made a couple days ago. Obviously, you tweeted about it, the DFA of Ka'ai Tom. What does that say about the team? Does that like kind of more that the organization trusts the outfield depth that they have? Do they see something in Seth Brown? Do they think that Pinder's coming back? Like why make that move? And what does it say about the outfield as a whole on the roster?
Yeah, well, I mean, they already had a lot of outfield depth before they got Tom, and obviously in spring training, they were hoping to look at a few guys potentially for that fourth outfield spot, but a couple guys got injured. Luis Barrera got a late start. Tom, kind of got a late start. He ended up winning the job, but I mean, Seth Brown had a great spring as well. And Seth Brown is a guy who, I mean, the A's love him, and he's been in the organization for a while, and all he's done is hit in the minor leagues. And that one chance he really got an extended playing time a couple of years ago, he played really well in 19. So I think they were always going to look to get him a good shot this year. And, with Tom, even though he didn't get a ton of playing time and, it was against tough teams, I mean, in these types of situations, when you're on a winning ball club that's focused on winning games, not really rebuilding, you got to take advantage of the opportunities that you get. And he just, unfortunately wasn't able to do that. He was able to get his first big league hit out of the way, but he was kind of not really looking overmatched. He was making contact, just, he wasn't really getting the hits to fall for him. So, Seth Brown came up and obviously made an impact right away with his opportunity. So he kind of overtook him on the depth chart. And, now you're looking at Seth Brown as kind of that main guy there for a while. And then Chad Pinder, once he comes back, is another guy in that mix. So they're still going to have kind of a large depth there that they're going to make a decision on at some point here. And then the guys in the minors, guys like Greg Dykman, Luis Barrera, they've got so many guys that are close to major league ready down there as well that I think they lose. If they looked at it probably as if, we lose one guy here, it's not going to make a huge difference. And obviously they needed some depth with Machine up as a utility guy in the infield. They didn't really have a guy who could back up Chapman or Andrews, so he provides that for the time being. And Tom was just kind of stuck in a roster crunch, so he was the guy to go. But I mean, as far as the outfield, they've got so much depth built up that they could withstand a couple guys. If they had to, replace some guys for a period of time, I think they'd be pretty okay in that position.
Definitely.
And I have one thing too, just like kind of thinking about like his future, is he probably has like one of the better situations where he could have landed in Pittsburgh, where
for sure.
they're going to be a hot mess.
Yeah,
pretty much all they got is no better words to say it.
Yeah, no, I was talking to the Pittsburgh, our Pittsburgh writer, and he was saying center field for them is just a complete disaster. So he should get time out there, which is good for him because I think he could be a really good player. He really does just need a chance, I think, because he's hit everywhere in the minors, and he's still a pretty young guy. I know the A's really loved what they saw from him in spring training, and I thought he would get more of a shot here early on, but things always happen, and they needed guys to come up in other areas and contribute. He kind of fell to the bottom of the depth chart a little bit, so it didn't work out here. But I mean, he's going to get his chance, and we'll see if he can perform in Pittsburgh. It's a good shot for him, like you said.
All right, we're gonna loosen it up a little bit before we let you go. Julio, did you want to ask one more serious question?
No. Well, I was just checking out the Pirates depth chart real quick, and he's easy could be there. But did you guys know Trevor Cahill's on the Pirates?
I did not know that. That is interesting to hear.
Good for him, man. After all these years, he's still out there.
Melvin and Cahill, they're building up the A's old players over there.
Yeah, right.
All right, so we'll get a few fun questions and we'll let you go. Appreciate the time. So you grew up in San Jose, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any like fun memories that stand out from the Coliseum, like going as a kid or as a teenager or in college or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, the one that I always remember is going to the final game of the season. Josh Hamilton dropping the ball. That was
you epic. Were there?
I was there, and I think
I was this close to buying tickets the morning of, and me and my buddy in college were going to drive from Sacramento and go, but we ended up not going.
Yeah, we had bought tickets like a couple weeks ahead of time because that was back when like they had like the BART deal where like you buy the
$2 Tuesdays or Wednesdays or whatever.
We got the tickets for way cheap. A bunch of us went, and we, knowing nothing about what was going to happen that day, we didn't know the division was going to be on the line. And sure enough, it was crazy. That was probably one of the loudest moments I ever remember ever going to see at a baseball game, when Josh Hamilton dropped that ball and then finishing off that win. That was incredible. But yeah, I remember just going a lot as a kid too. I remember like all of them. I remember going to like the Battle of the Bays a lot, sitting up in Mount Davis, which was kind of scary sitting up there, but it was also fun seeing all the people there going back and forth. I just remember a couple games like randomly, like Eric Chavez hitting some walk-offs. Always something like late innings, like today, like something late inning crazy would happen when I would go, it seemed like. So that was why I kind of always loved going to the Coliseum, because I knew it was going to be an exciting game for the most part, and it was probably going to come down to the last couple innings. And more times than not, I feel like it always ended up happening that way. So
you're telling me you're the good luck late inning good luck charm. So you need to go to more of these games then. So when we're in these situations, we can get walk-offs and shit.
Yeah. It was fun though, man. It was, something about the Coliseum. I know it's, terrible. I mean, we saw the lights there go out yesterday, and a lot of bad stuff has been said about it, but it's been fun memories for me. Growing up, I got to go to both, I went to Candlestick when the Giants were there. Then I went to AT&T a lot, and then I went to the Coliseum. And something about the Coliseum was just always kind of, I don't know, it was cool to me just to see the atmosphere, because it's not full. usually, but the fans there are really passionate. So that was kind of what I always enjoyed about it.
You know, it's funny. So Chris and I, we actually both live in LA. He's on the west side of LA. I'm over in Glendale. So like we've been going to Dodger games, Angel games, Padre games for as long as we've both lived down here. But just still like nothing really matches like the Oakland crowd. Like Angel games are just the Angel games are their own weird thing. But like Dodger games, they definitely have that flow going. The Padres are now just getting it going again. But like, yeah, even it's like what I've always told people, like there could be 12,000 people at the Coliseum and it'll feel like there's 25, 30,000 people there just because how electric every single game is. Like that's just the Oakland in them, right? The East Bay thing.
Yeah, I mean, and the Coliseum, I mean, you're not going there for anything else other than to watch baseball. I mean, there's no other distractions, which, I mean, all these new stadiums are very nice, and there are some cool features about it that intrigue you to want to go. But when you come to the Coliseum, you're coming to watch baseball. There's like nothing else you want to do. Just, all the people, setting out in the parking lot a couple hours before and tailgating. That's one of the things that I've noticed, in covering the league and going to other stadiums. I don't really see like a tailgating scene like I see in the Coliseum. That's like football in a way with the A's. They line up early and they're, not this year because of COVID, but usually they're there pretty early and they're, barbecuing, drinking before the game. And I think that's what leads to kind of the cool atmosphere in there, even though it's not a lot of fans, they're all making noise. So
I actually looked that up, Martin. I think it's like 80% of the ballparks don't even allow you to do it because it just takes up space in their very small parking lot.
Yeah.
And Dodger Stadium doesn't because of fights. And then even Angel Stadium, I think they do, but they're pretty strict on what you can and can't do, which again just kind of shows you how I feel about Angel Stadium. But yeah, it's like awesome. Like I haven't been able to go to a game at the Coliseum in 3 years, so I'm like I can't wait to go back. But our next question, Martin, you have the special ability where no matter how quickly it is, you can get the player's walk-up song within a heartbeat. Like we've seen multiple other A's beat writers tweet about it. So when did you know you had this gift, man, of the gift of song?
Do you just have Shazam open on your phone at all times?
Like that, man. I'm like, God damn, he's fast.
I will admit there have been a couple times where I've used Shazam, but for the most part, I do know the song. It's just, I grew up, in a music household. I mean, my mom always played music. She always played Spanish music. My dad played a lot of old school stuff, whether it was rock or R&B, hip hop. He was always playing stuff. So I kind of always just was gravitated towards music. And then as I got older, music was it was sports and music for me. I would always be, buying CDs or when it got to the MP3 stage, downloading music and all that. And even now to this day, I mean, I make the commute to Oakland almost every day during the season, and it's almost an hour sometimes going and coming back each. So that a lot of that time is taken up just listening to new music. When I'm not listening to like a podcast or something, I'm just listening to music and what's out there. And, I'll be pretty diverse in the selection. I'm always been a, big hip hop head, but I've kind of, as I've gotten older, kind of listened to everything, whatever I can. And I enjoy a lot of it. So a lot of times I just hear this stuff. It's a lot of, I'm around these players' age. So we all kind of, I guess, listen to the same thing. So I'm kind of able to get to it, pick it up pretty quick. It's always, I know it's a pretty popular thing on Twitter. I've been thinking of doing something more with it. I don't know if I should like start an Instagram page or something with walk-up songs and kind of feature that stuff. But it's always fun to me. I love getting to know like why players choose songs or whatnot, or what if they're playing like one really popular song that's been out for a while recently, I kind of like to just get that out there. I know not a lot of fans are interested in that stuff. I know they are. So just keep doing it.
I got an idea for you because you said you either drive up, you're either listening to music or you listen to podcasts. I think you should create a mini podcast series called The Art of the Walk-Up, where you interview certain players and you talk about the importance of walk-up music, like for everybody and like across, with cross generations and all this stuff, because like it's the tone setter. Because I could tell, growing up, going to Raider games, as soon as you start hearing the opening bells of Hell's Bells, you're like, shit's going down. I'm like, that's it. Like you guys are going to lose. It's probably going to be the Raiders, but like, you knew, like, you were there. And it's like, when you hear celebration, man, like just feel so much joy. And like, I like last year during not being able to go to any games, literally after every game we'd win, I'd play Celebration. And then when Apple Music sent me like my top songs of the year, like Celebration was my top song of the year. But yeah, just throwing it there. That's $1 million idea. Throwing out there for you. Take it if you like it.
Yeah. I'm gonna write that one down. I'm gonna see what I can do with that.
So what are you listening to right now? What's on your Spotify playlist for your commutes?
Man, it's so random. So I got like some playlists that I've actually recently created. I've got one that's like reggaeton stuff if I'm in that mood. I got one that's like electric stuff, electronic EDM, which is a popular one when I'm like going to the gym or something, or if I'm just like feeling that mood. I got some like Bay Area rap stuff. I've been into a lot of Bay Area stuff recently. Drake is always a big thing, so I'm always like, mixing that up, shuffling that. Nipsey Hussle was like one of my favorite rappers, so been on him a lot recently. It's kind of all over the place, man. I don't ever stick to one thing for too long. I kind of go through phases throughout the year. It's just kind of random. I'll wake up thinking of like a song, and it's like that'll be like the tone for the day. Like, okay, I want to listen to this type of music for this day.
Nice, bro. Well, I think that'll do it. Unless Julio, you got one more question.
All right. Let's go around the room. Everybody give me your favorite player walk-up songs. Ugh. I'll give you a minute to think about, because there's a couple that only stood out to me.
Actually, no, I have mine.
Okay. Josh Donaldson coming out to Regulator.
That's
got you. That one, yeah. That was always a solid one for me. Always just get hyped whenever hear him walk up to it. Then of course Sean Doolittle coming out to For Whom the Bells Tolls, Metallica, and everybody in right field doing the head bop. But then a non-A one, I love going to Dodger Stadium when Adrian Gonzalez would come up to the bat and they play Mariachi Loco, and just the whole stadium just starts jumping. It's like the most fun atmosphere.
Yeah.
Do you have one, Martin? Do you want me to go?
I think Chris Davis, when he was coming up to Ballad of a Dead Soldier by Tupac, that was bumping. I think that was the first year I started covering this team, and I remember I was really paying attention to the walk-up songs then, and then I heard that and I was like, oh man, this is hard. So that was a good one. I remember Edwin Jackson came over and he started coming out to E40. I think it's called Boy. That song got the Coliseum like bumping every time he pitched that year. That was a great song. They still play it to this day here, even though he's gone.
And I got to tell you too, and like I'm sure you've probably been to road stadiums too. A lot of these places don't play good music, man. Like I keep saying Angel Stadium, and I'm sorry to like my Angel fans or my Angel friends and stuff, but like you go to Angel Stadium, you're hearing like some pretty whack music. So when you go to Oakland and you hear some E40 and all that, like you just feel like you're in such a better place, like such a good mood. And you hear some oldies too.
Yeah. No, the Coliseum's always got some good selections, man. I got to give credit to the DJ that are there. Yeah, they come up with some good stuff.
Like last night with the
lights out. Killer.
That was great. They just kept them coming. It's like they knew that was going to happen or something. But I'm trying to think of like players not on the A's that I remember, like just going to different stadiums. I think when we went to Wrigley, Kyle Schwarber came up to Thuggish Ruggish Bone. And
that's sick.
For some reason, like
that's fucking dope.
They loved it. Like they went nuts for that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that in Chicago, but they were going crazy for that. So that was a good one. Chapman has had some solid ones. I think he had Kodak Black, Codeine Dreamin'. That was bumping at the Coliseum a few years ago. There's been some good ones. Matt Olson's always changing the songs to like the latest Little Baby songs. Baby song this year. But he's a big hip hop head too, which I didn't know until like a couple years ago. So yeah, I like the A's selection for the most part. They do a pretty good job with theirs.
Mine is definitely, it's, even though I hate him because he's a cheater now, it's Careless Whisper by Josh Reddick. That was just like that. Yeah. Just how much of a joke that captured just like the entire baseball national world, and how, because it was so funny, he kept it for like a month. It was just great.
Yeah. It's funny you bring him up because one of my buddies went to he's from LA. He's a Dodger fan. He went to his first game in Oakland, and he's like, dude, Mark Hanna comes out to Like a Virgin. He's like, I love this guy. He's so weird. And then the very last question, I'll let everybody think about it too. If you had a walkout song, what would it be? I have a couple. I'll let you guys think about it for a second because I already had a couple in mind.
Didn't we just talk about that?
What would your walk-up song be?
Oh.
Yeah. One would be Backseat Freestyle by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh man.
And shit, now I'm getting myself stuck. I think the opening of No One Knows by Queens of Stone Age.
Have you thought about this, Martin? I've never thought about this.
I think everybody thinks about it, man. Like everybody thinks about that.
No, I know, but I don't know what to tell you.
I go through so many changes. Like that's a tough one. If I was to go, like, I'm just thinking like music right now, I'd probably go with like Drake. His most recent, he dropped like 3 songs recently. I think it's called one with Little Baby. Try to find it. Wants and Needs. That's a pretty hard one.
Okay.
Probably go Kendrick Lamar, Collect Calls.
Oh, interesting. Ooh. I'm writing these down now.
That's kind of a low key one.
Is that from Section 80? No, that's from the EP. No.
Yeah, it was from his first album. What's it called? Good Kid, Mad City.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Trying to think of one more. It's tough.
I'll go while you think. I think I would do Babbo O'Reilly by The Who. Yeah, that would just get me hyped up and also relax me at the same time. I think that's one of my favorite songs.
This one by Nipsey Hussle, it's called Loaded Bases. I always thought that'd be clever because if you came
that's dope.
Loaded, and it starts off going loaded bases, that's my motivation. So that would be like perfect. I would ask him to play that if I came up anytime with the bases loaded, just so I could come up to that song.
All right. Well, on that note, we actually will end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. We really appreciate it.
Love it.
And also, you heard it here first. Breaking news: Martin Gallegos does use Shazam every once in a while, so we can't trust his tweets anymore. Yeah. Just kidding. Thank you so much. Check out his stuff at MLB.com, and I mean that goes on A's.com too, right? Your content, yeah. So OaklandA's.com or MLB.com. Again, his Twitter is Martin J Gallegos. Definitely follow him. Anything else we need to plug for you?
No, not really. But look out for that podcast about walk-up music.
There you go.
The art of the walk-up.
And Julio and I will be EPs on it. It's all good. We got you.
All right, Martin. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, guys.
All right. Welcome back. Thanks again, Martin. That was a whole lot of fun. It makes sense why he's such a walk-up song connoisseur. That dude just listens to fucking everything. Like his taste in music was just all over the place, which was great. Hopefully you can come back because we said when we after we ended the interview, that dude's dope as fuck. I want him to be my best friend. So Martin, if you're looking for a best friend, what's up?
What was the It's Always Sunny when Mac is writing a letter to Chase Utley?
Yeah.
Okay, Chase. Even that's you with Martin.
Hope it's cool that I call you Chase.
There you go.
All right, so let's finish it off with previewing the upcoming schedule and the rest of the stuff. All right. So this weekend, I was telling Julio earlier this week, this sucks that this is the weekend series because it's already difficult for me to watch weekend series sometimes as it is just because I'm doing so much. But this one is definitely tough. We got Baltimore. They're in Baltimore, which is cool. But
I mean, it's going to be nice to see Trey Mancini on the field again. Yeah. He set up last season. He went through chemotherapy for leukemia, so it's so fucking awesome that he's back on the field again and he's healthy playing again. He had a bomb last night, so that was great. But yeah, it's still Baltimore. They're not a great team. So, hopefully we'll see some bombs coming out there from the A's.
I just realized I'm going to be in DC on Friday through Tuesday. Maybe I'll go to one of these games.
Like this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend. Well, go.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go. I'll let you know. I'll tweet for Town Tailgate.
Yeah.
Anyway, then after that,
yeah.
Sorry, no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
All right, cool. Now this is gonna be a fun series, and it's gonna be happening during the week. We have the defending AL champs, the Tampa Bay Rays, aka Tampa Chris's second home.
Basically,
basically.
My boss was there,
they're,
sorry.
Despite losing Blake Snell, despite losing Charlie Morton, Hunter Renfroe wasn't much in their offense, but losing him as well. They're pretty much playing where you thought they would be. They're
For
in
the
second
reasons
place.
that we said in the preview, though, Julio, they just have so much depth in their farm system, and they have forever. So they're just like, cool, Blake Snell can go because we got more guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like they have the guys there. But something to keep out with like Tampa is, they're pretty much, they are who we thought they were. Tyler Glass now has really propelled into like the upper echelon of starters in the American League. There was so much hype into him. We weren't sure if he was going to be going into it. But he really does look like that dude. Now the A's, we've talked about their winning streak. We're riding the waves. We're taking the waves to the East Coast. But I think this is going to be probably the biggest test they've had all season, and up until.
The Dodgers was the biggest.
No, well, the Dodgers Astros series, of course, but they weren't. We don't talk about those. We don't talk about those days anymore.
This is we're going up against, like, we have the streak on the line. We have a good run. Like, we're going up against a good team. Finally.
And no offense to Detroit and to Arizona. Minnesota is going to be a really good team at the end of the day. Yeah. I think they just have some weird shit going on with them. But like, I think Tampa, this is going to be like probably the biggest test that this run of team has had all season. Yeah. And it's going to be a really great series to watch. I hope everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yeah. I agree. So who's your player of the week, Julio?
Ooh.
I'm going to pick the person that you don't, because I think there's only two options.
Okay. Well, it's definitely not going to be the left field lights.
Is it going to be the Coliseum DJ?
Ooh, that's a good one too. Also, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but Amelia, the new PA announcer for the A's. It's Amelia S something. She's been so much fun. Obviously it's been so hard I would imagine how hard it is to fill in for Dick Callahan. But she's been so much fun on social media, and just like, I love hearing her voice during the broadcast. So just want to give a quick shout out when it comes to like employees of the Coliseum. But because I have him on my fantasy team, I'm going to take it. Matt Olson. Holy shit. Okay, everybody brought up for the reasons why. I think if he really is the cock. If this guy is going, everybody else is going to be going. He hit 2 home runs today, Wednesday the 21st. He had a grand salami yesterday. He just looks confident at the plate again. And especially after last season, where there were so many times we were rooting for him to come through with it. He didn't come through with it. And now he's really looks like that dude. So Matt, you are my player of the week. Let's keep it rolling, baby.
My Essential Tailgate Tool, my ETT from last week, Essential Tailgate Tool, just saying. Kind of, sort of, not really. But he was in the 4-hole hitter, 4-hole for 99% of the games. So, boom. Mine is obviously, so the latter we all know. Maybe we don't all know. Sean Manaea, continued dominance. Like we talked about with Martin, just absurd level of just hitting your spots. 62 fucking strikes, or 60 something strikes and fucking 22 walks. That's, again, Bartolo Colon level numbers. If you guys remember back in the day, Bartolo Colon was like, he was just the most accurate pitcher ever, which also kind of led to his downfall, because when he started throwing like 81 miles an hour fastballs, they would just fucking rake him. Anyway, he's been killing it. I hope he keeps it up. Also, a quick little player of the week to our good friend Alex Coffey for capturing just the perfect screenshot of him in his post-game interview with just that smile, like just a nice little smirk. And he just, in classic Sean hilarious fashion, one of the funniest guys on the team. It was just so telling and so perfect. So that's my player of the week. All right. Now to the ETTs. I'm going to start calling them that. This is fun.
Essential Tailgate. So before we go into who we are, or who they will be for this coming week, let's review ours. You have the 4-hole hitter.
Yeah. Which
very general. That's a cop out. But at the end of the day,
We know why. I explained why last week, Julio. It's because 1 through 3 was killing it, and then the 4-hole hitter would strike out or hit into a double play, and they didn't do that this week, which is the reason why we killed all these guys, except for today. Just saying.
Yeah, and I had Sweet Lou Trevino, who was finally coming to his own. He had a couple saves. He's been lights out. He gave up that 2-run bomb to Byron Buxton today. So, I'll give myself a B-.
Sure. Sure.
Right. Now, Chris, who are you watching this week? Who do you think is going to be the essential tool of the week?
My essential tailgate tool of the week is going to be Jake Diekman, because after the fuck up that Lou Trevino had today, you have an opportunity to sneak in and take back that save role. Now, it seems like Bob Melvin has been testing out those two guys past few games. Sweet Lou pitched in the 8th today, kind of blew that one. I would assume that Diekman was going to go in the 9th. The second game yesterday, it looked like that was going to be the situation, but they kind of they did do that in the second game. The first game they were going to do that, going to do Diekman, then Sweet Lou, but they I think they busted it open in those innings, so they didn't need to. But it looks like he's trying to test out and find out who this closer is going to be. I like Diekman better than Trevino personally. He's more reliable, so I want him to take that role. So I think this week is the opportunity to do that, especially after. I'm not like counting on Lou to lose. Obviously, if Lou's good, like that's great. But I just think that this is an opportunity. So that's why it's essential to the team. Yours? You're muted.
This coming weekend series against Baltimore I think it's going to be a high scoring one. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be on Baltimore's end, but I think this can be a high scoring series. And I'm going to take kind of a wild one, but I think Elvis was going to enter the building this week.
Yeah. I was thinking about going Elvis because he's been slumping, but dude, Martin made some good points. He has been like a really good veteran leader. In the
process. I think he's still, I don't know if his bat will get there anymore. We'll see. But his productivity's gone up a little bit more. He had a hit earlier today. He picked up a hit and with the doubleheader yesterday. He also picked up another hit against Detroit. But also in the last week, he's picked up 3 steals. So the productivity is going to be there. We're big proponents of just because you're the bottom hitter doesn't make you the worst hitter. It just means you're the second leadoff guy. And I think if you're going to have somebody like him who's, got that big league experience, he's been to World Series, he's got those 300 plus career steals, like Martin said. I think this is going to be the week where he finally, I don't know if he'll ever be the Elvis he was when he was an all-star, when he was a part of those World Series teams, but he can still be a pretty solid big leaguer. And I think this could be a week that he's going to show it to us.
He better be, because they invested quite a bit for him to be the next. I think he has 3 years left on his contract. So otherwise, I don't know where they're going to go. Cool. I like it. So that is going to do it this week for the Town Tailgate. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We will be back next week on Thursday mornings. What's up?
And before we go, as always, if you are not subscribing to us, please make sure to subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that be iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or if you watch us on YouTube. For all 5 of you, thank you. Appreciate it. Also, if you're on Twitter, make sure you're following us. We're so close to 300 followers. We want to push over that. Make sure to follow us at The Town Tailgate.
You know what's wild about the YouTube is we have 15 subscribers. So why aren't all 15 of you watching us, guys?
The hell, people.
But it's okay if not. If you're listening to us, it does the exact same thing.
And one last plug before we go. I just want to give a quick plug to somebody who's been a big follower of us from the beginning. My primo, my cousin, Alex. He came through this weekend and he hooked us up with some nice A's Athletics IPAs from St. Archer.
Nice.
So, Alex, thank you so much. We appreciate the plug. Hopefully these are going to be some nice rally beers we're going to have going for throughout the season.
Oh, yeah. That'll do it. Last but not least, Julio.
Let's go, Oakland. Into the ocean, because the waves are going to keep coming, baby.
And we're going to the ocean because we're going streaking.
Yeah!
Through the quad into the gymnasium. The Town Tailgate is an independently produced podcast. It is written and executive produced by this guy, Chris Madrigal, and my partner in crime, Julio Reynoso. It is sound mixed and edited by yours truly. Social media management and marketing is run by, once again, my partner, Julio Reynoso. And a special thanks and shout out to my brother, Larry Madrigal, for composing and producing our theme song, as well as graphic designing our album cover and artwork. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please tune in next week. Please subscribe. And last but not least, as we always say, let's go Oakland.